In just a few days, energy prices for people across Pennsylvania will go up.
Putting further strain on wallets, the average person could see their bills go up 20 to 30 bucks at least.
It's too high now. Can't afford it.
That's absurd because they're already significantly higher than most others.
And tonight, CBS 21 Investigates team taking a closer look at why this is all happening.
The battle stretching across multiple states, and it has some saying you are paying for the mistakes of Maryland. Candace Scalise has this story.
Keeping the lights on will cost you more starting Sunday, June 1st.
So as a consumer, what is that going to look like for people who use PPL?
I think it's going to become very difficult for people who use PP&L. But this is part of a broader issue.
An issue that's not as simple as flipping a switch to solve. The demand for electricity is surging. Supply isn't keeping up. Pennsylvania is part of the PJM grid, with 13 other states and D.C., all of them relying on each other.
We're seeing supply leave the system primarily due to state and federal decarbonization policies and, again, some economics.
To see an example, let's take you on a drive south of the Mason-Dixon line. In Maryland, the Brandon Shores coal-powered plant and H.A. Wagner oil plant both had plans to close down this year.
Pennsylvania and southern York County in particular, we are constantly under siege because other states are not being responsible.
But Maryland State Senator Benjamin Brooks says that's not the case.
It's just hearsay, but perhaps there was an agreement made between one environmentalist group and then Wagner. That was a business decision, not a Maryland legislator's decision that sort of impacted the amount of energy that was going to be available.
As a whole, Maryland doesn't generate enough power to keep the lights on itself, relying on Pennsylvania and others for 40% of its electricity.
Not only are we generating the power and bear the burden of generating that power, we also bear the burden of eminent domain taking our land to build these high voltage power transmission line projects. We also pay for that infrastructure in Pennsylvania to get that energy to a place where people are refusing to do the right thing. They're living in a green energy fantasy land.
But when you ask Maryland leaders, they say they are doing the right thing, investing in solar, wind, and nuclear to power a clean, green future.
Our biggest concern is clean energy, that energy that's not putting any CO2 in the atmosphere. When people talk about clean energy, oftentimes they don't think about nuclear. Nuclear is clean energy. We need green energy as well.
So when the plug is pulled on coal or natural gas plants,
You're going to have to replace those resources. The replacements, which are primarily what's getting built out today, are renewables and battery storage. Those are not one-for-one replacements.
Moving forward, the PA powerhouse will produce more energy. The Crane Clean Energy Center, or 3 Mile Island Unit 1, is set to go back online in 2028. The Homer City coal plant in Indiana County is being refitted to become a natural gas plant.
Look, I've got 2 sons. I want them to breathe cleaner air. I think environmental policy and stewardship is an extremely important, sort of facet of our existence. But, if you want to keep the lights on, you want to keep them on affordably, you have to understand these dynamics about how these different resources, operate.
It has to be reliable baseload generation. Wind, that's great. Solar, that's great. It's not reliable.
But in order to make sure the lights continue to come on when you flick the switch,
this is really tough. And so at the end of the day, this is going to require a lot of collaboration, a lot of partnership in order to see families and businesses through what I think is going to be a challenging time.
In Harrisburg, I'm Candace Scalise, CBS 21 News.
So Senator Phillips-Hill, who you saw in that story, also called for Governor Josh Shapiro to speak with the governors of Maryland and New Jersey about this issue.
And we asked the governor about that today when he was in New York. Take a listen.
Well, I'm focused on energy here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Those governors can speak for themselves. I've made clear that we've got to re-examine whether or not Pennsylvania should be a member of PJM. Maybe we should set our own pricing. Why would I say that? Because here in Pennsylvania, we are a net energy exporter, meaning we create more energy than we actually need, and so we sell our energy to other states.
Okay, so what does that mean? We asked the governor to clarify the remarks, if he's interested in maybe creating a PA grid, so we're waiting to hear back on that.
And we also reached out to the governor of Maryland to respond for this story, but have not heard back. If you think there's a story our investigative team needs to look at, please send us an email, investigates@cbs21.com.